Hey, Mike, that's right. Former President Donald Trump just moments ago announcing via his Truth social media app that he has selected J.D. Vance, a senator from Ohio, as his vice presidential running mate. The former president saying, after lengthy deliberation and thought and considering the tremendous talents of many others, I have decided that the person best suited to assume the position of vice president of the United States is Senator J.D. Vance of the great state of Ohio. J.D. honorably served our country in the Marine Corps, graduated from Ohio State University in 2 years, and is a Yale Law School graduate, where he was editor of the Yale Law Journal. So this is an important decision. Vice presidents don't tend to sway elections one way or the other, but it's always an important indication of what the president of the United States and the candidates for president of the United States want. In this case, by selecting J.D. Vance, former President Trump is not selecting somebody who will do coalition building, bringing in a group of voters who he doesn't necessarily have access to into his coalition. This is a presidential nominee who already has a coalition. He already has solid control of the party. He's already doing very well in the national polls. So in selecting J.D. Vance, he's looking at somebody who is more complementary to him than somebody who brings in an additional group of supporters that he doesn't have access to on his own. J.D. Vance, just 39 years old, obviously an author of that book, widely well-received, Hillbilly Elegy, and now the nominee of the Republican Party as of this week for Vice President of the United States. Mike, back over to you.
Yeah, Eamon, as you suggest, this isn't really about, geography and swing state calculus or anything like that necessarily, but in terms of it being complementary, what's the tone, what's the likely kind of mission of this vice presidential candidate?
Well, I think the former president is going to want somebody who can go out there and campaign hard in states that he can't reach or in areas where he can't get to on any given week, right? So it just doubles the power of the campaign by having those two traveling campaign planes out there at any given moment. J.D. Vance's pick here will be scrutinized by folks on the left, of course, because in the wake of that assassination attempt on Saturday against the former president, J.D. Vance took to social media and posted some very critical remarks about Democrats. And there's been some thought that the former president would try to moderate his tone, come up with a unifying tone this week here in Milwaukee. The selection of J.D. Vance is the selection of somebody who has gone from staunch Trump critic to absolute staunch Trump advocate, somebody who defends the Trump campaign in every situation. And so that's what he's getting here. Somebody's going to hit the campaign trail and hit it hard.
All right, Eamon, from the Republican National Convention, we'll give